a few crazy, amazing things I want to share with you as we're about to begin the Torah class today. Today, I want to dedicate our class in honor of the upcoming yahrzeit of Aryeh Ezra ben Zion HaKohen Parsakar, Shama Shel Avnaliyah, Migute Beter, with the whole family for Ogu B'Sech Klal Yisrael. Also want to dedicate this to a young couple that's getting married tonight. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable, I'm going to tell you. I don't believe the story I'm telling you right now, but I know it's true. This is the story. This little girl, she went by the Rebbe in 1991, and the Rebbe gave her, she's a little girl, the Rebbe gave her $1, another $1, call her for a chatan. For a chatan. Now, my children get annoyed when I always have to make jokes about them getting married, but I thought I was the only, but the Rebbe is giving $1 for a chatan, and no one knows what the Rebbe is talking about. So, okay, years passed. This was 91. It wasn't yesterday. Listen what happened. Unbelievable. So the Baruch Hashem, they got engaged a few months ago, and Nathan Torchman and Rivka Kasherim, they're engaged, and they mentioned the story to my friend Rabbi Zisha about how they got $1 from the Rebbe for the wedding. The Rebbe says this for the chatan, for the wedding. That's what the Rebbe said. So Zisha said, let's find the picture. What date was it? They found out that the wedding is the exact day that the Rebbe gave the bracha. Wow. The wedding is tonight, the 28th of Adar. Wow. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The bracha came on that day. The Rebbe sees something that's, wow. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'bracha. What is the meaning of success? What do you think of when you hear the word success? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word success? At this time of year, my grandfather, Alav Hashem Rabbi Folgeman, I don't know what he was going through, but the Rebbe told him, throw all the negativity out the window. Throw all the Mara Shechera, all the negativity out the window. It says you're supposed to add in joy in Adar, and some say also in Nisan. So you have to add in joy and throw all the negativity out the window. So when we think about success, many people think success is something that happens to other people, Success is something that happens maybe to Ashkenazim, Those people who have the AAA cards, those Ashkenazi people? Anyways, so there was a Jew, ein Gesund, he visited Rabbi, a very wealthy Jew, wasn't very observant, and he visited my colleague, Rabbi Savatitsky, from Belgium, and he's very, very wealthy. He tells him, I don't really know how much money I have. And I say don't know how much money, it's not that I don't know how many millions I have. I don't know if it's like 10 million more, or 20 million more, or 40 million more. I have no idea. That's what he says, I have no idea. But, he says, I don't care what people are jealous of me. He says, his wife was sick. One of his kids left his home, doesn't want to talk to him. The other kid has other problems. What do I have in life? So Rabbi Slavtitsky said to him, what about the kindness that you do? He says, that is something that lasts. That's something which is true. That's something which is forever. So let's understand today how we define what our yardstick is for success. The gentleman in our shul, ein Gesund, Mordechai Yosef Feldman, on his birthday, he made a decision for his birthday. He's a good hachata tova. What was his decision? It's a beautiful idea. He made a decision that whenever an opportunity for kindness arrives, someone needs help, instead of looking at it as a burden, he decided, I'm going to try to look at it as an opportunity. That's easier said than done. But thank God, they have now a new bedroom in their home. They only have a one-bedroom apartment, but suddenly their dining room is now a bedroom, and they welcome another person who came from Ukraine, needs a place to stay. And that's an opportunity. Wow, we could help someone. Different way of living, different way of thinking. So there is, there is a. When we think about success, we may think about a time that's going to come up, or a person is going to come and help us have success. The real meaning of success is something that comes from ourselves, and the time is now. And this is the real change that we're waiting for, it's from ourselves, and it's now as the name of this upcoming Shabbat. This Shabbat we add the Parsha Bachodesh, the Parsha of change, of something brand new. The month of Nisan, the month of miracles, month of wonders. So this is where we're heading. This week we read about the laws of purity, about man. Last week we read the laws of kosher, of all kinds of animals and birds and fish. And now, after we finish discussing all of existence, all different kinds of mammals and amphibians and fish and reptiles, the Torah now goes on to discuss man. So we're the last. We're the last in the Torah describes. Why are we the last? Why do we describe last? So there's a sage named Rabbi Simloi. Rabbi Simloi says, just like God created man last, he also discusses his Torah, the laws of the man is also discussed last. So what's the connection? Because we were created last, therefore our description, our laws in the Torah are last. What's the relationship? Why were we created last? Why did God create us last? So there's 4 reasons given. 2 of them are like this. One reason given is, if man was created first, you know what man would say? I did this. God needed some help, so I was a partner with God in creation. Therefore, God created man last. That's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is, if a person ever gets arrogant, he ever thinks about himself too much, so God could say to man, and man could say to himself, a mosquito, you think you're so great? Even mosquitoes were created before you. There's a difference between the way God made man and God made all other creatures. All other creatures were created from the earth. God created the giraffes and the trees and everything in the world was created from the earth. But man was something else. Besides creating the body of man from the earth, God also created the neshama, the soul of man, from heaven. And that was created second. First he made the body of man. And then God blew into man, into Adam, he blew into him a spirit of life. When God created man, God said to the angels, God said these words, let us make man. Who is the us? Who is he talking to? Did any of us make ourselves? We made ourselves out of our eyes. We made our eyes. We made our nose. We made our... What did we make of ourselves? We didn't make anything.
Interest.
So the one explanation of the Talmud is God was talking to the angels out of humility. God wanted to teach us humility. But the Maharal says something unbelievable. The Maharal says that all other creatures that God made, when they are born, you can more or less predict where they're going to go. Dogs live an average of 10 to 13 years. Some dogs live 25 years, very old. But when a dog is born, you know when the dog grows what's going to happen. Dog is going to get a little fatter, it'll run faster, get a little stronger. The dog will be able to bark louder. You can basically predict what's going to happen when a dog is born. When a human being, a Jew, is born, a baby is born, you don't really know too much about where the baby's going to go. You don't know where the baby's going. Baby's born, and what's going to happen next? You don't know. You could have 30 kids in a class, and you don't know who's going to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. You don't know. You don't know who is going to become someone who invents a cure for cancer. You don't know which kid is going to join the mafia. You don't know which kid is going to become a teacher, or going to become an Olympic star.
Rabbi.
Oh, yes. Anyway, so you don't really know. You don't know where things are going to go. So that's what God means when God says, let us make man. God says, a lot of what happens to you and what your world is has to do with you. A human being is the only creature that has free choice. We have a free choice to what kind of world we live in and what kind of environment and atmosphere we breathe. We all know ourselves that we could choose to you know how good it feels to give, to make another person smile, make a person feel good. We all know how that feels. We also know ourselves when we feel more aggressive, more jealous, more angry, more anxious. We have a choice, though, what kind of thoughts, what kind of things we consider, and that changes the way we feel. We're the only ones with that choice. So a human being could be a lot worse than an animal. Only a human being could kill a lot more people than any other creature. Think about what's going on right now in Russia, Rahman al-Islam, what happened this week in Israel. Hashem Yirachem Aleinu, V'Kol Yisrael.
Amen.
Could an animal do that? There's a kind of cruelty that exists only in man. And that's the meaning of when we say that man is created at the end of all the creatures. God says, even a mosquito comes before you. Mosquitoes are remarkable creatures. Mosquitoes, you see, look at a mosquito, you can see the incredible power, wisdom of God in creation. A mosquito is a very small creature. On the other hand, when a mosquito tries to get blood out of someone, you know how much it could pull out of the person? 9 milligrams. 9 milligrams doesn't sound like a lot, but 9 milligrams is more than the whole thing weighs. So the mosquito is able to draw out of you more than itself. A mosquito is able to immediately detect which person has more blood in them, and they gravitate to the person with more blood. You see, people always, why are the mosquitoes going on me? There's actually wisdom. And not only that, surgeons, anyone who's been to who has blood vessels that are hard to find, it's not such an easy thing to be there when they're trying to find those blood vessels. Some people, sometimes, you go to draw blood, like, oh, you have the best blood vessels,
Yeah.
But a mosquito is able to detect the place of entry into the body where the blood vessels are faster than the best surgeon in the world. He could go immediately with and prick and go right into the blood vessels in a way that no surgeon in the world has the same capability. So there's incredible wisdom in the mosquito. On the other hand, and also when a mosquito draws blood, amazing thing. Hashem made the person in a way that when you draw blood, when a mosquito draws blood out of you, so there's blood and there's also water. Mosquito only draws out the blood, doesn't leaves the water. Number two, when you have a scab or something, so the blood right away congeals and right away forms a scab. So that prevents the mosquito from drawing out more blood. But the mosquito releases into you something that will counter the body's own mechanism of creating the scab in order that the mosquito should be able to draw out the maximum amount of blood from you. But the Torah says that a mosquito is also considered the epitome of evil. Mosquito is considered the lowest kind of creature. Why? Because a mosquito, it says in Tanya, is machnis ve'eino motzi, all draws for itself. Doesn't release anything. Mosquito represents evil because what is evil? What is klipa? What is something which the Torah calls something which is not good? It draws life, it wants to suck everything into itself, and doesn't want to give. That something, that kind of thought, that kind of Yetzer Hara enters our minds all the time also. We could have that kind of feeling that we want to take. That's klipa. Klipa is about taking. And taking in a way, just like the mosquito carries so much of blood that weighs it down. Imagine, imagine deciding for lunch that you want to eat more than you weigh. That's a mosquito. So mosquito is this idea of klipa, that it wants to just bring into itself, and not to give anything out. So we're created after the mosquito. It says in the Talmud that all the creatures in the world, if they got together, would not be able to create even a wing of a mosquito. Why is it mentioned the mosquito specifically? Because the mosquito, again, is the lowest of all creatures. Torah is telling us that a human being is even lower than that. Human being, the Talmud says that there was a man named Titus, a Roman emperor, who he said to God, as many have said before him, after him, all there is I. You heard of Popeye? I am what I am, that's what I am. So he said something worse. He said, I am what I am and there's nothing else. All there is me. So God said to him, he was on a ship, God said to him, when you go onto dry land, I want you to go to war with the smallest of my creatures. He goes onto the dry land, takes a shower, he has a cup of wine, and in the cup of wine there was a mosquito, and the mosquito goes into his nose. And for 7 years, he was suffering with a mosquito gnawing at his brain, and for 7 years of suffering. So the Torah, when it tells us that a mosquito was created before you, the Torah is telling us that we have to realize that we have in ourselves this ability to choose to be really, really low. We have inside of us to be really low. Mosquito comes before us. On the other hand, the Torah says, we said today's Tehillim of Yom, what's today? Chavchet. 20th day of the month. It's supposed to say Tehillim divided according to the days of the month. Tell me this. God created man. I was created, King David says, at the end, and I was created at the beginning. And you put your hand upon me. I was created at the end refers to our body, our animal soul. How we were created with this selfish, lowest thing inside us. On the other hand, Kedem Sartani, a person on the other hand has in him this great ability to be beyond all creatures in the world, higher than all of them. That's the meaning of what Rabbi Simlai said. Our Torah is last. What does that mean? We're the hardest ones. We're the hardest ones. Everything else that exists in the world, it's all part of creation. Even the mosquitoes are part of God's creation. They're doing what they're meant to do. God made every creature the way it's supposed to be. We're the only ones who can go so low. And that's why our Torah is last. Our Torah last means that we're the Torah is what guides us to grow and to change and to be uplifted. We have the hardest job. We have the hardest job. That's why it says when God created man, it says he created him with two faces. What meaning of two faces is? We have a godly soul, we have an animal soul. We have two directions we can look at every day. We can decide what direction we're going to go to. And it happens right as soon as you wake up in the morning. The alarm clock goes off, and some people, the first thing they do is they say a couple of expletives and they bang that phone and they're whatever it is. Other people like Modani Lefanecha. Some people they just wake up in the morning and they connect. There's a choice. We have the choice all day. What do partsufim? That's we have both souls. They both exist. So the Torah says to us, you should know you have the hardest job. That's number one. On the other hand, you have to realize something else. God says, I put my hand upon you. I'll tell you a story. There was a girl living in Los Angeles. Somehow, she wasn't from a religious family. She ended up deciding that she wants to look for spirituality. She went to India. She ended up in an ashram in Tibet. She's in Tibet, and she's there for 4 years. And her father, in Los Angeles, he got sick. So she comes back to Los Angeles to visit her father. And her mother tells her, Passover was such a nice thing when I was growing up. She had many conversations with her mother. Passover was such a nice thing. My grandfather, we used to sing with him and dance with him and ask the 4 questions. I wish I would have given you that opportunity. She meant to say, you didn't have that. That's why we went to India and Tibet and whatever. Anyways, as divine providence would have it, she ended up going to New York, and she ended up meeting a friend of hers who was going to go to Crown Heights for a Seder, to the Rebbe's neighborhood for a Seder. So, come with me, we're going to, my mother told me, let me check that out. She goes to the Seder. In Crown Heights, in Brooklyn, there's a yeshiva for women. The Rebbe himself, on the night of the Seder, he would go to visit all the public Seders. For example, when the Jews came from Iran in 1978, they had a Seder for the Jews from Iran. They helped over 1,000 boys and girls from Iran to leave. They went to their Seder. They went to the Russians, had the Seder. They went to the Jewish women who were studying that yeshiva. They actually went through the dormitory. They went to check everything. They wanted there to be a mirror there. I mean, everything should be good for these girls who are making this big step, this courageous step to be closer to Judaism. And this girl was there. And seeing the Rebbe, she was really like, wow. And she ended the song. She wanted to stay. She decided to stay. Listen to this. She decides to stay, but she feels in herself she's not really able to do this. She's 4 years in a monastery, in the ashram, whatever it is, in Tibet. She can't really start again. So she asked the Rebbe, she wrote the Rebbe, how do I start this? And I like this, but how do I start this after I've been through so many things? And she's expecting the Rebbe to say you have to start fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. You have to roll in the snow. You do all kind of stuff to clean your soul and start again. Or maybe there's no hope for me. That's from her perspective. Maybe there's no hope. Maybe that's all over. Can I start this again? Unbelievable what the Rebbe said there. In the Talmud it says these words. The Talmud says, if someone says, I've tried, I haven't been successful, don't believe them. Someone said, I haven't tried, I was successful anyways, don't believe them. If someone said, I tried and I was successful, believe them. That's what Talmud says. The Rebbe said to her, you were looking for God all these years. Atazeh, exactly. The Rebbe said to her, what were you doing in Tibet? I know the words the Rebbe said, the content was this. You were looking for God. So now you found Him. Because you were looking for all these years, that's why you found Him. You understand what the depth of what the Rebbe said is? It's not that you were going the wrong direction for so many years and how can you recover? You were trying. You were lost. You said, help me out. Hashem, I want to find you. I don't know where to look for you. Let me go to Tibet. Let me go to India. And Rebbe said, that's why you found him now, is because of all... As Rebbe sees in her idolatry, in all the things that she went to, she's trying to get closer. And that's really what was going on. Her Neshama wanted to get closer, and no how. So went to Tibet. Kind of like the story of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses, when he sees the sheep running away, he says, you're thirsty. That's why you're running away. So that's what the Torah is telling us. Hashem's hand is upon us. Hashem's hand is upon us. Doesn't matter if we go up, if we go down, whatever we're going through. Hashem is guiding us. We have two parts of ourselves. We have both parts, and they're both there. And that's the second of the four reasons, second group of two reasons of why God created man last of all creations. The third reason is God created man last. It says that so the meal should all be ready for him. God wanted all creation to be ready for him to come nichnas l'suda miyad, able to enter the meal right away. And the fourth reason is God created man last, so he should be ready for Shabbat, go straight to Shabbat. In other words, the first two reasons are about our denigrity, our failure, our challenges, our inner struggles. God says you should know you got those things. They're part of you. You are, on the one hand, the lowest of all creatures, lower than the mosquito. On the other hand, God tells us you should know, but kedem sartani, you have something above all creation, and I put my hand upon you, and you're going to make this. You're going to win this. What's the bottom line? Bottom line is like this. The Mitzvah Rebbe says this. I'll let you guys go one more thing. Mitzvah Rebbe says like this. There are two kinds of people. There are people which are called those who serve God with their souls. They're just like, they stream. They're just, the neshama shines in them. I think of like children. Think of tzaddikim. Just the neshama shines in them. Then there are people which have a body, an animal soul. You know anybody? They feel their body, how their body feels? You know anybody like that? You know anybody human? That's us. So, it says in the Torah, King David says in Tehillim, behemot itimach. I was like an animal with you. That's what King David says. He says in the plural, I was like an animal with you. That's what King David says about God. I was like an animals with you. We have in us ability to be lower than an animal, lower than a man, like an animal, sub-rational. But sometimes when you're going the wrong direction for a while, sometimes you feel like, all of a sudden you feel, I want to be closer to Hashem. Sometimes you're going down a really bad direction in life and you know it's bad, but you're stuck there, and all of a sudden you feel like, I want to be closer. Where does that come from? That's because the animal itself, that our animal self inside of us, also has a godly spark as well. Even the animal side of us has a godly, holy part as well. And this is the meaning of why the Torah of man, in this parasha, Torah is telling us, yes, you have the biggest challenges, but because you have the biggest challenges, Hashem gives you the greatest care and support and the greatest power in your neshama, in your soul, to get there. So Hashem shall help us all, should be able to make the change we're waiting to make. Where's the holiest place in the world? The holiest place, right here. Who's the holiest person in the world? That's right. What's the holiest time? Now. What does it say? Let's make it happen. L'chaim, l'chaim, Mashiach now. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.